So there's a very, very nice song by Srinivasacharya called Sad Goswami Astaka. And it describes the six Goswamis. And of course, Sanatana Goswami is one of those. His whole biography is very, very extended. They were direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya. Of course, for people who are coming, we're coming out of this, Indian tradition, and especially within Bengal, although it's spread, very amply all throughout India, surrounding countries, and all the way through Europe and North America. We find Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic texts for centuries, being spread because of their profound knowledge and perspective, not only in ontology about who we are, what is reality, but also very practically in terms of medicine, political science, architecture, all these things. And so within this tradition, we were specifically coming from Bengal, which is in the eastern part of India, and has a very, very deep, profound tradition. Very, very wonderful. And of course, like in South America or so many places during the great European colonialism, so much of this knowledge was either intentionally or just incidentally covered over. And the world hasn't had access to tremendous resources because of this. But now it's becoming more and more manifest, and we're trying to participate in, along with programs like this and help develop this now, make it accessible. So I can sing a couple of verses from this Goswami Astaka. If you know them, you can sing along with us, maybe with your microphone muted so we don't get a delay. And the last line is Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako, which are the six Goswamis. So, okay, here we go. I'll try and chant this. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Poro Premamritambo Nidhi Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Poro Premamritambo Nidhi Dira Dira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito Dira Dira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito Sri Chaitanya Kripa Baro Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavahantarako Sri Chaitanya Kripa Baro Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. So we offer our obeisance to the six Goswamis who are always engaged in Krishna Kirtana, very high class hymn singing, Utkirtana, very high class singing of the glories of the Supreme Lord, just like St. Francis of Assisi, same thing. Krishna Kirtana Gana, songs, Nartana, and dancing. So what's the use of your music that inspires people to dance? Because we're so impersonal and embarrassed, that we feel sometimes maybe an impediment that when we're singing about God and we have a natural inclination to dance, that it's not proper or something. No, this is natural. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro Premam Mitam Bonadi. And they're like an ocean of love of God. Dira Dira Janapriyo. And everybody, even rascals and people, different people who are entangled in bad habits or good habits, they can touch all their hearts and are dear to everyone. And they're removing all the burden of this world, which is pressing us all down, beating us all down in so many ways. And so we offer obeisances to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanjiva Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And so tonight we can't go into too much of a biography of Sanatana Goswami, but he was, I think, the eldest of all the Goswamis, and Rupa Goswami was his younger brother, but was his spiritual, master in that sense, some sense of, leader, more advanced in some senses like that. They manifest. They were big ministers in the government of West Bengal, which is like to say something like the government of Texas or something. Very powerful, personalities and very expert administrators, but full of cultural assets and organizing beautiful parties and poetry, and absorbed in all these higher mellows of religious life, spiritual life. And they were the leaders of all this society. But when they met Lord Chaitanya, they appreciated this. The best thing is to get free from all this politics. It can be used for Krishna, but now it's time just to promulgate, spiritual consciousness through singing, song, music, philosophy, literature. And they lived very, very simply, just taking the discarded clothes from the street, washing them in the river, laying them on top of each other and stitching them up to make a quilt. And some very, very simple things, and living under trees and Vrindavan, but enriched with all the subtle, beautiful mellows of love of Krishna within their hearts. So today is the disappearance, Tirubhava, of Sanatana Goswami, and appearance, disappearance, almost the same thing. But yes, of course, when he left his body, it must have been just an ocean of feelings of separation that went on in Vrindavan, places like that. So we were just going to look at a little part of this. There's so much here, so much about them. We have here on the slide Sanatana Shiksha, which means instructions to Sanatana Goswami by Lord Chaitanya. Of course, we're presenting this here with this very nice Sangha, Simply Wonderful Friday. And this is 2021, July 23rd. Cooperation here by ISKCON Houston, Nilamada and our little institute, Anjana Sudha Academy. And of course, the conclusion of everything is that God is a naughty little rascal stealing yogurt up in the corner. So now with our reporter here, we want to spread news of this. So let's go to our next slide here. Okay. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is about maybe 500, 400 years old, somewhere there, by Krishnadas Kaviraj. And it's considered, amongst the most beautiful poetry, everything else, description like that. He was extremely elevated Brahman, but left everything as a very old man and completed all of it. There are other biographies of Lord Chaitanya, which are also excellent, but this one Prabhupada translated, possibly because it does have these very philosophical aspects which are needed. So Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they both met Lord Chaitanya, not in Bengal, but in Prayag, Allahabad. And then Lord Chaitanya in chapter 19 of the middle section, he instructed Rupa Goswami. This is Rupa Shiksha, and you'll find those instructions in so many purports, and the purports by Prabhupada. So, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 chapters in the whole book or something like that, a lot of them. And but these instructions to Rupa Goswami are very, very central to all of our perspective on who we are, what is reality, how to act, what are the subtle subtle beauties of spiritual life. Then, supposed to go here automatically. Then, chapter 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 are, instructions to Sanatana Goswami. 20, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Sanatana Goswami in the science of the absolute truth. It probably felt it was very important to use this word science because he was thinking religion has become too much of a domain of sentimentalism, and it lacks the full power that we're talking about. But it's not just sentimentalism, and it's also not a science limited by very mechanistic mathematical systems like Euclidean and geometry and other things like that. But yes, it's a systematic body of knowledge that can be approached through hypothesis, experiment, and then arriving at conclusion. So he was teaching the science of the absolute truth. 21, the opulence and sweetness of Lord Krishna. 22, the process of devotional service by which we associate with Krishna. 23, life's ultimate goal. And when we're associating with Krishna, become purified of all material connection and become back to our natural position. And it's like a little summary. Then Sanatana Goswami said, well, what about the Atmarama verse? It's one very specific verse in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. And many people, consider to be like a very essential verse. That if we're going to look at your philosophy as compared to the philosophy of Patanjali's, Hatha Yoga, or Jesus Christ, Christianity, or Martin Luther, so many philosophies. This Atmarama verse is one that really declares our philosophy. Atmaramas chamunayo nirgranta api urukrame kurvantiya hoitakim bhaktim itambuto gunoharahe. The Supreme Lord is full of transcendental qualities which have inspired even great liberated souls, Atmarama, self-satisfied souls, to serve him since the beginning of the creation. So it's not that once we become liberated from material attachment, we have nothing to do. No, if we know Krishna, then we discover he has transcendental qualities informed beyond this world. And of course, there's so many other people talking about this, Socrates and the cave analogy and so many things like that. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri, he also was challenging him, about these things, his position, philosophy. And this was kind of like his PhD thesis question. Okay, explain the Atmarama verse. And Lord Chaitanya gave just an astonishing presentation. And Sarvabhauma, who was the Sabha Pandit of Maharaj Prataparudra, which is like, the what do you call it? The head scholar, the head scientist of the master, king of the universe. He was such a gigantic philosopher, scholar. And when he heard these, he was thunderstruck and dumbfounded. It's amazed at Lord Chaitanya's explanation. So then Lord Chaitanya was asked by Sanatana Goswami, okay, I want to hear your explanation of this also. And I think Prakashananda Saraswati may also have asked for this. So this is the what do you call it? The instructions to Sanatana Goswami. Srila Prabhupada, as we understand, was not going to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita because he figured he had enough work just with the Bhagavatam. But devotees were pushing, and so finally he did. But before that, he published teachings of Lord Chaitanya. We heard that one ISKCON devotee in the beginning of ISKCON in India was talking with one sannyasi from the Gaudiya Math, our cousins, Indian sannyasi, older fellow. He was saying, what has your Prabhupada given you? What kind of philosophy do you have? Are you just a bunch of reformed hippies? We said, no, he gave so many things. And then we said, well, do you have any, has he given you anything from Chaitanya Charitamrita? And he said, yes, he gave us the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It has the instructions to Rupa Goswami, instructions to Sanatana Goswami, instructions to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, instructions to Prakashananda Saraswati, and instructions in conversations with Ramananda Roy. And this Gaudiya Math sannyasi said, that's enough. So it's a very wonderful book just by itself, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And then we find the details. So right in there, Prabhupada includes both of these things, Madhya 19 and Madhya 20 through 24. Okay. And we didn't get time to do it in our preparation, But each of these chapters has a very, very nice summary. It can be published as a little book. And I think it's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. And so it's very, very nice. You can just read then each of these and then see how Lord Chaitanya is presenting systematically, descriptions of Krishna, Krishna's expansions. And they go way beyond the realm of modern science in many ways. Many of our things, it's very important to adjudicate between the Vedic culture and science, what it's talking about. But some things science is just hopelessly uninvolved in them, like that. The different deities and their expansions and so many things. So, but here he's presenting this is a scientific process. For example, we have a little deity of Lord Nrsimhade for many years, maybe 30 years, our good friend. And he has, different symbols. He has what does he have? He has a potato. No, he has it's like a potato. He has a conch shell up here. And down below, he has a club. And he has a lotus flower, which is his hand. And there's chakra. So by the position of the symbols and what order they occur, you can discover what his name is. And so he's Janardhan, protector of the people. Like that. So anyway, this is a little bit about the summary of the Sanatana section, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then looking at chapter 22, the process of devotional service. Well, why pick that out? Because on the right you see the nectar of instruction, which of course is Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Translation and commentary, authorized commentary from his Guru Maharaj and other sources. And so Prabhupada says there that the nectar of instruction constitutes first instructions for neophyte devotees. Of course, in our process, we don't destroy the basis when we go on. No. It stays there. We build on it. We don't want to give anything up. Excuse me. Maybe we're approaching the lotus feet of Krishna. We're bowing down. We're apologizing. We're so sorry for the stuff we've done. And he's accepting us. Then he's purifying us and raising us up, and we can grab a hold of his knees, and then we can hold his hand. But we never forget our relationship with his lotus feet. Even the gopis, when they start to think about Krishna, they think of his lotus feet. Okay. So in there, Prabhupada says it's beginning instructions. So looking at it, I found that the verses cited from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Sanatana Shiksha, were all from, almost all, and I found one more, which is very interesting, but almost all of them were from these chapters, Sanatana Shiksha, from chapter 22. Okay, so it was 22, text 31, 22, text 62, 22, text 69, and 22, text 107. And all these are just essential verses. Many of our scholars will know the actual Bengali for these. The first one is 31 is Krishna is compared to sunshine, and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy will immediately vanish. Sarvabhauma, do you know the Prabhu Das? Do you know the Bengali for this? Are you there? No. Krishna Surya.
Saman. Maya hai adhikar, jahan Krishna taha nahi, Maya adhikar.
Yes. Krishna Surya Sam, Maya hai andhakar, jahan Krishna taha nahi, Maya adhikar. I was in Bengal for 1 year, one of the hottest year, 30 years. I was there organizing the Science Congress. Boy, I tested the Maha Mantra and everything else. Lord Nrsimhade was with us too. He made it through too. So I know now. I know how. I hope any Bengalis in the audience won't be angry with me. But as far as I could understand, the way you pronounce Bengali is to pretend you have rocks in your mouth, little rocks, Krishna Surya Sam Moya Hoya Ondakar Johan Krishna Tohan Nohi Mayara Odikar. It's very poetical, beautiful language. Okay. But this is fundamental. Prabhupada made this the slogan for his Back to Godhead magazine. This is the fact. So many times you may have experienced this with the name of God. Hallelujah. Allahu Akbar. It's, Narayana. Is anything. Oh my God. God damn it. Yeah. Is it? As soon as the name is God is there, the darkness, the illusion, the confusion can just fly away to a tremendous extent. So Krishna's like the sun. And as soon as we're conscious of him, even indirectly, just like before the sun even comes in the sky, we get the light and all the snakes and robbers and things just go away, So that's called Namabhas chanting. So that's one verse. And of course, all of these we can go and look at them individually. Then another one is 62. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. So this is a big topic because I've seen, it was a Mormon movie, very well, very good money and good costumes and everything else. But their conclusion about faith was that it was blind faith. And this is exactly what many scientifically minded, rational minded people, they just criticize, either out of sadistic joy or out of even, what's the word like lament, that religion usually means a blind faith. But no, Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita 4:34, Tadvidi Pranipatena, in the purport, blind faith is condemned. Yeah. If God is not a fool, he's giving us, he understands our level of development, and he gives us the necessary information we need, to act properly. But faith means that we actually do what we know. It's not that we act on something, because how are we going to act properly if we don't know what Krishna wants, and it hasn't given us the resources to do it. Prahlad Maharaj was a little boy, and his father had conquered the universe, big, powerful guy. And Prahlad was always worshiping God, maybe 5 years old, singing his glories. So one day Hiranyakasipu, with his eyes red from liquor, was looking at his little boy who he'd been trying to annihilate in so many ways. And he said, where is this God of yours, Prahlad? So his little son Prahlad said, he's everywhere. Okay. And then Hiranyakasipu said, is he in this column? And Prahlad looked at the column like a little innocent 5-year-old child, and Lord Nrsimhadev was making his presence felt. He did not require blind faith. And Prahlad said, yeah, he's there. And of course, you know the story that Hiranyakasipu smashed the column, and Lord Nrsimhadev came out and had a wonderful pastime with Hiranyakasipu, turning him into macaroni with tomato sauce. So this is very important. I think I know the Bengali for this one too. These are all the verses in Upadeshamrita, Krishna, we're always promoting that. And we're coming out with our own little commentary finally. And one of the appendices will be a little Vaishnava verse book, which is all the verses cited in Upadeshamrita. And as we're looking at them, it's very rare, I think, to find a single verse which is not cited other places many times. So these are very essential verses, and memorizing them, then people think, oh, such a great scholar. No. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudure Doinis Choi Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Ritahoy. Yeah. Shraddha Shabde, this word Shabda, Shabde Vishwas Kahe, it's called Vishwas. So, it's almost defining it in terms of faith is firm faith. But the basic principle of faith is describing it here is that Tagada Mulahantri. No, what is it? Anyway, I'll come back. I can't remember this thing. It's by watering the root of the tree, by giving food to the stomach, and by worshiping the Supreme Lord, all the demigods, all the limbs, and all the trees and all the branches and twigs are satisfied. So this is faith. Faith that just by engaging in the service I know I should do to Krishna, then I'll get knowledge to refine that, to understand better what I should do to Krishna. So that's the main thing, being faithful. And of course, I know myself and probably many other people who know here is that we know what we should do, but we don't do it. We try again, and third time, yeah, we do it. And then we discover, yes, this is the right thing. And so then it becomes very fixed. Okay. Krishna Surya Sam, Maya Hoya Andahakar, Yahan Krishna, Tahan Nahi, Mayara Harikar. Shraddha Shabde, Vishwas Kahi, Sudra Doinis Choi, Krishna Bhakti Koile, Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Okay. And the next one I don't know. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte. But by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of first-class devotee. I tried to memorize it. It's simple Bengali. But it's describing, the steps in the process then. And again, it's based upon Shraddha. Everything is basically how faithful we are. So in the beginning, I believe, I don't believe. It's very soft and pliant. Somebody comes along with another philosophy, and I end up drinking, daiquiris with my girlfriends in the afternoon. I know something happened like that. Yeah. But if we go ahead and get good association, follow the process, and then take it up with our own commitment, then gradually we become very fixed, in the principles of religion. We take them to heart. We no longer like to criticize other people. We know that the scriptural source is given by Krishna, practically, and we have a good logic for them, how we can connect them up in our life. Go. I can't remember the Bengali. 107. This is a very nice one. Pure love for Krishna. These are all the instructions in chapter 22 to Sanatana Goswami. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabunaya, Shravanadi, Shuddhachita, Karzegudaya. And of course, very, very fundamental point that we all lovers of God. Everybody's like this, so we can't really reject anybody from these things, because Krishna is in everybody's heart, and it's a matter of hearing Shravanadi, hearing, etc., hearing and talking about it, then contemplating these things, forming a logical understanding of them. Then the heart becomes purified, and this naturally we remember who we are. We've heard Socrates said, "I can't teach you anything. All I can do is help you remember." So this is a very, very fundamental point of education. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunaya. It's not something we get from some other source like that. So this is what we found in Sanatana Shiksha, a little bit of taste of what Lord Chaitanya was teaching to Sanatana Goswami. But then when we were going through our verse book there, we found something else. And this was a different section. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila, chapter 4. Sanatana Goswami visits the Lord at Jagannath Puri, because he met him at Allahabad, and then I think he went to Varanasi, and then he went to Vrindavan. So he came back a long way and stayed for some time. So this is an entire chapter. So I'm learning. As we do these things, we learn more and more, and it sticks more and more in our heart. So this entire chapter is a whole section. And, so reading the summaries for each chapter in the Sanatana Shiksha, reading the summary for this, looking at it, it's an entire chapter of instructions. The verse is quoted in Upadeshamrita here. It's very relevant because we understand today there were initiations. So text 192. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. Diksha Kale, at the time of initiation, Bhakti Kare, the Bhakti does, Atma Samarpan, surrender of the self. Say Kale, that time, Krishna Tare, Krishna Tare Kare, Krishna takes him, Kare, making as Atma Sam, as himself. At the time of initiation, when the devotee fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. So looking at the context in Upadeshamrita, this is, this happens. It's a, what do you call it? It's a, what's it called? It's a reality of the fact, You know, the Prabhupada says the initiation, the fire sacrifice, Diksha Guru, all these things. He says it is a formality, you know, but not a meaningless formality. No, it has its purpose, it has its place. But it actually also has to be the content where we by chanting and everything else, we put ourselves enough in the mode of goodness so we're not being impelled by fear or desire, greed, you know. And at that point, we can really see, maybe for the first time in our life, I remember myself, it was a very, very good kirtan. I was visiting the temple. It was after the Sunday feast. It was a kirtan of brahmacharis in the temple were chanting. I was trying to follow. And I suddenly realized my mind and senses were completely under control. I was trying to play the kartals I bought from the gift store. And so I was, you know, the meditation was very complete on Krishna, on the music, on the mantra. And I was liberated from their influence. You know? And so I could see, I was right in front of Radha Gokulananda in San Francisco. And my intelligence immediately said, hey, I want to come back to you. Yeah. And it was me. It was me. It wasn't the influence of my desire, my fear, or anything else like that. So we get in those positions sometimes during a very high experience. You know? And then Krishna was responding on this intellectual level. Okay, just go on as you are going. Just do what you're doing. It's brought you here. So continue on by reading, associating, and do what you're doing. It's very, very natural. It's a process of waking up. But when we wake up sufficiently, then we can say, okay, doctor, I can take charge from here. I can start taking the medication myself. I don't have to have it injected anymore. And the doctor says, okay, now you take charge and just, yeah. So first initiation, more or less, I'm a servant of Krishna. Krishna is the master. I serve him. Okay, like Sambandha. When we go on with that process, then there's second initiation, which Prabhupada calls in the Upadeshamrita to actually initiate it, spiritually initiate it. At that point, we're fixing the mode of goodness. And sometimes, yes, we'll take a sacred thread and as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or a high-class Vaishya, very advanced person, or it can be quite informal, with no formal process, but at a certain point, Krishna, Guru, they're accepting, okay, you've come to this level now. And we don't need a separate mantra. The Maha Mantra at that point will be quite sufficient, to take us all the way to Goloka, Vrindavan. So very, very nice verse, meditation. There's, in the actual purport, there's nothing to this, but in the verses before and afterwards, there's some nice comments, So it's kind of a little summary of the research work we've done in the presentation, and it's so satisfying to be able to, think we could associate with everybody here. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept our humble obeisances. And here is our webpage, jairama.us, if you want to come and give us a little advice and whatever else. So, any questions or comments? Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andakar.
Goswami gave up his woolen blanket.
Volume is very, very low.
Sanatana Goswami gave up his woolen. Sorry.
Hello?
Sanatana Goswami gave up his woolen blanket, and it seems like that's against Yukta Vairagya. But also there's the principle of not being attached to material things and living simply. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, it's a picture actually in the basic picture there of Lord Chaitanya embracing, we call it Sanatana Goswami. What's going on here? Okay. And the story, of course, is that Sanatana Goswami, he got away from his government post. The Duke of Nawab Hussain wanted to keep him there somehow or other, force him to do the work. But he escaped, and even though he'd been a very rich man, he was walking maybe one servant and things like that, and begging. And finally, he caught up with Lord Chaitanya. But en route, he saw his brother-in-law. Maybe you experienced this after you're living on the street and you come across some relatives and they give you some possessions or money, and they're a little embarrassed to see you. And so you're attached at the same time and getting it or not. That's what I understand the actual mood was. And Lord Chaitanya was so happy to see him. At the same time, Sanatana kept feeling that Lord Chaitanya was glancing at his blanket, he began internally thinking, well, Lord Chaitanya doesn't approve of me having this opulent blanket. I'm supposed to be a renunciate. Yeah, if it's deity paraphernalia or something else. So he was feeling it. He went down to the bank of the river, and some poor beggar, he offered him the blanket to take his old blanket, maybe clean but simple. And Lord Chaitanya was then very satisfied. So using things in Krishna's service in terms of our position and everything else, yes, Arjuna had to look like a prince. He had to have weapons and opulence. You can't do that job unless you look like, a prince, because common people have to understand, he's dressed like a police officer. He has weapons. But in this case, I think it was specifically just what you're suggesting, that maybe there was a little attachment, a little fear of, losing everything or something becoming non-distinct. And so then, Lord Chaitanya wanted him to get rid of the last little attachment like that. But that's how we would understand it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hello. Yes.
So when Sanatana Goswami escapes from jail, he goes through this really hard, treacherous, dangerous path in the forest to reach Lord Chaitanya. And I just a question that why does the Lord put his pure devotees through such danger? It was quite dangerous.
I heard one commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti. I think it was what it was. I think Prahlad was actually like kind of teasing the Lord, saying, I knew you'd save me. All these things are going on, but I knew what you were doing. You wanted to put me in all these positions so you could show off. Yeah. And so I extend that. It says that actually Krishna is not fully satisfied unless he can save us. He'll help us. So we're not, what's the word, foolhardy and artificially pushing Krishna, but sometimes that's what people need. Jesus Christ said, "You will not believe unless you see miracles and wonders." And so devotees, they go through these things. This is to relish the joy of playing with Krishna, but at the same time too, because it shows the common people how you can be the most downtrodden, lost, unprotected person on the face of the earth, but Krishna will take you through it all. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whatever happens to you materially. You haven't got to fear for dying from the COVID virus or anything else. Because you'll have the Lord who sees all things in secret will reward you in secret.
And just another similar point, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also says that I'm sleeping and I am blind and I'm requesting the stick of your mercy. And it's quite painful to see that as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Shika Goswami Astaka. Chatva Turnama Seisha Mandalapati Shrenim Sadatu Chvat Utvadina Ganesha Ko Karunaya Kopina Kanta Shritao Gopi Bhava Rasam Ritab Dilahari Kalola Magna Muhur. And they were the peak of aristocracy. When they finished the week's work, everything's arranged, and Saturday they have beautiful receptions and parties for different events at their bungalows made with ivory, and very, very fine ladies in beautiful saris and gentlemen with fine silk turbans were coming in ivory carriages drawn by masked horses with clapping hooves and being received and beautiful music and poetry and banquets and stuff. And Mandalapati, they were the leaders of all this glorious society, but so they just gave it up, and they were living, like you're saying, in the most simple, apparent, austere conditions. And then everybody could believe them when they said things, because look, this guy's got nothing to gain, by talking to me. He's showing it that the spiritual life is reality. And so then it says that Prabhupada says you can't do this, unless you get that higher taste. So what is it? Gopi Baba Ras Amritab Dilahari Kalola Magna Muhur. It says that they were drowning in the ebb and the flood of the gopis' love for Krishna. It's Radharani's birthday party, and they've arranged such a beautiful party, and they've been spending 2 hours to dress her simply. Okay. Oh, you like it? It's something I just threw on like that. Yeah. Took two hours to get her dressed simply, properly. And everything's arranged. They've got dramas arranged, so many things. And Krishna, of course, is the male ornament. And Krishna's supposed to be there at 12 o'clock, but he's not there. Okay. So 12:10, Krishna's not there. 12:20, Krishna's not there. The cake is starting to fall apart. So one Manjari runs in and says, I know where Krishna is. Where's that? He's at Chandravali's house eating cookies. Yes. So do you want to be there after that announcement? It can be, this is a typhoon of Lalitas just ready to blow Krishna off the face of the earth. Or else it can be, Radharani's complete, honest, sincere feelings that this is because Chandravali loves him more than we do. So we should all go to his house and help. So this is the inconceivable. Even the gopis don't understand what they're going to do. Inconceivable, that was called something states of consciousness. So that's what they had, and everything else was just, it's like it's insignificant. And they were teaching us that, teaching us how even if you have tuberculosis or covered with skin diseases with worms on it, you're thinking, well, how can these worms be? My goodness, is it? Yes, that's how elevated the spiritual consciousness can be. How you can just deal with this world as a funny place, for different kinds of activities like that. So don't lament for Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Monday. Couvert. Julie Quajar. Huli Quajar. Ishwari Radha. Mitravinda Didi. Hari Krishna. Priya Tirupati. Yeah. So we've been based here in Nashville, Music City, Elvis Presley's home, Johnny Cash. For some time, we have a whole kind of program reason we're here. And then we'll go to Boise, Idaho for 3 weeks, first 3 weeks in August. And people may be coming and visiting us from other places in the West Coast. Last time we're there. And we're working on developing a movie. That's our focus, Diary of a Traveling Creature, the ultimate trip. And we're consolidating all the different things we've done in our life, the preaching, interfaith dialogue, science and the Vedas, world classical literature, the Bhakti. And it's coming on very well. This right now, by Krishna's mercy, we've consolidated our ideas in maybe like about 8 PowerPoint shows and these maybe 5 themes. And now then we're starting to go out. We got interviewed by ISKCON, by Chaitanya Charan, and podcast, and 2 very nice interviews came out of that. Hamlet and Arjuna, and Carl Jung and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And our ideas are becoming more and more refined, and we're discovering more and more possibilities for building very, useful bridges for building relationships with different communities and creating a nice world. It's quite possible. Things can become just like when Lord Ramachandra ruled the world. It's possible. And so then working on that, we'll be in Boise for 3 weeks, and we'll come back here for 3 weeks, Janmashtami and Radhastami. And the day after Radhastami, we're supposed to fly to Nilamadavadam, like that, yeah, on our magic carpets. And we'll be there all the way through appearance of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, I think about 10 days, And so hope to see everybody in Nilamadavadam in those days. And then we'll go to Peru, and we're looking for one place to stay for 6 months. Sit there until Gaur Purnima and do a lot of work there, and maybe our final visit to South America. And we'll be back in Houston again, right after Gaur Purnima, right before Gaur Purnima. So we hope to be able to get the association of all the nice devotees there. And thank you for these opportunities to participate in these virtual sanghas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks so much, Maharaj. It's always a joy to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. West Point. Half Nelson. Have you subdued your mind by wrestling with it?
Not even close.
Yeah. And what would happen if a Cal wrestling team took on the Japanese sumo wrestlers? different style. Okay.
Different weight class also.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, match my weight class. Yeah. Okay, so thank you all very, very much. Haribol.
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Krishna. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.